Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest from the live radar, run for the latest UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as we are now heading into a very warm, if not hot and dry spell as we do end April and start May. Temperatures over the next few days are going to be widely into the low 20s, and by the middle of the week could even be into the mid-20s, and for some across the south we could even get into the upper 20s. 28, 29 degrees looks quite possible perhaps Wednesday, Thursday, and there's a small chance of seeing an isolated or rounded 30 degree. Now, of course, it is going to be very dry as well, along with those very warm temperatures, but progressively in towards next weekend, there is the risk of maybe a few thunderstorms developing, as we do see a slight dip in pressure. And eventually, the high pressure does look like it is going to drift further westwards. And unfortunately, that would turn the wind direction to more of a north or northeasterly. So there is a real high chance that progressively into early May, it does return back towards average or even below average. But as we'll see from the longer range charts, it doesn't look as cold and unsettled as it did a few days ago into early May. We were seeing some pretty extreme runs, big swings in temperature into the first week or two of May. There still looks likely to be quite a big swing, but it doesn't look as drastic or as swift as we were seeing a couple of days ago. So definitely turning cooler as we progress into early May, but it still looks pretty dry, and hopefully there could be a return to something a bit warmer in towards the middle of the month. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, much you like and subscribe. And if we start on the live radar, it's been a stunning day today, the first of many stunning days to come. Unfortunately for those across Scotland, pretty much central belt of Scotland northwards, there has been quite a lot of cloud and some persistent rain. Now, this was forecast, and we did say that there was always going to be a bit of rain in the north and west, but I'd hoped come Sunday evening it would have cleared. Now, I'm recording this around 7:30, so we are getting towards sunset now, and it is still raining across much of northern Scotland. It should clear into the next 24 hours or so, but yeah, unfortunately for those areas, it's still been pretty grim. Elsewhere, though, it has been stunning. Now, if you put in the temperatures around 7:30, you can see still across much of England and Wales, it is still very warm. This warmth is going to spread northwards, and as I said, even those areas across northern Scotland where it is pretty grim at the moment, where temperatures are probably towards these just low teens probably, it is going to get towards the 20 degree mark in the next few days. So yes, coming a bit more delayed, but it is going to be dry and warm for all. Now, to go over to net weather and have a look at the max temperatures today, you can see around the 2 to 4 p.m. point, most people reach their max temperatures. You can see widely 20 to 22 degrees, pretty much as forecast. So we thought 21, 22 would be the top temperature today, and that's exactly what we've seen. It could be a couple of degrees higher tomorrow, 23, 24, and progressively warmer, potentially reaching a peak around Thursday time, maybe Wednesday or even Friday, around that 27, 28, maybe even 29 degrees. Now, if you go over to the latest UKV now, you can see through Sunday morning, we did have rain quite extensively in the north and west, but it really retreated away towards just northern Scotland through the afternoon, and slowly is going to clear away overnight tonight. Into Monday morning, a few lingering bits of thicker cloud and lighter rain, but generally speaking, it is going to be much drier for all into Monday. A bit more in the way of cloud, especially in the north, but generally speaking, still dry and still will be very warm. The upper air temperatures are really climbing as we progress through Monday. Now into Tuesday, it's going to be bone dry for all and more extensive sunshine, more blue skies, and the temperatures will respond. Will be even higher, 24, 25 degrees there into Tuesday. And the same can be said for Wednesday, where it does look like it's going to be wall-to-wall sunshine, very little cloud. And again, those temperatures, 25, 26, maybe even 27. And that follows up with a very similar pattern into Thursday. Again, very warm and very dry, but you can spot a few isolated thunderstorms breaking out towards London area. And as I said, there is the risk of a slight lowering in pressure to the south and southwest as we progress later on this week. Bit of instability coming up in that warmth, so there is the risk of a few thunderstorms later on this week. No real major sign at this stage. You can see really isolated, but do bear that in mind. It will be dry for most, but there could be a few big thunderstorm cells breaking out across those southern areas. But the first day of May, stunning, hot conditions for all. And yeah, it's going to be a real good start to the final month of spring. You can see again a few odd showers into Friday morning, but as we progress towards the end of this around 120 hours, you can see a bit more in the way of instability across the south. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some more further isolated thunderstorms into Friday afternoon. And you see that is because we've got these very warm upper air temperatures. You can see slightly cooler out to our southwest as we do see slight lowering in pressure. And of course, across that temperature contrast, there could be a bit of instability popping up. Now, if you look at the max temperatures, you can see this afternoon, as expected, around that 20 to 22 degree range. Into Monday, pretty cool morning, but very quickly into the afternoon, those temperatures will rise, and into the middle afternoon, once again, looking widely at 21, 22, but peaking around the 23 or 24 degree mark. Into Tuesday, again, pretty chilly overnight with the clear skies. But into the afternoon, temperatures widely around the 23 or 24 degree mark, isolated 25, 26, looking pretty likely. The same can be said into Wednesday. Again, widely mid-20s and again peaking 26, 27 in a few spots. And for the first day of May, towards 3 p.m, look at that, peaking around 27, 28, and always with the resolution of the UKV, you can always bank on it perhaps being a degree warmer than whatever the top temperature here shows. So 29 degrees definitely looks in play. And a small risk, very small risk, but a risk nonetheless not out of the realm of possibility. We do see a 30 degree there for the first day of May. As I have said over the past few videos, the temperature record for April is 29.4 degrees. Now, I don't think we're going to get near that for the last day of April, which is Wednesday. But for the first day of May, coincidentally, we could actually just about get towards that mark. So, yeah, it would be very close to being record breaking, but it'll be a day too late, I think. But we'll have to wait and see what those temperatures do get on Wednesday, Thursday. Always a chance, especially in these hotter spells, that the UKV does underdo the temperatures by a degree or two. So if that was the case, then there is a risk on Wednesday of getting towards 29 degrees. But I would still say it's a fairly slim risk. Regardless, though, we're sort of looking at 27, 29 degrees, those sort of differences. In the end, for most, it's hot, it's warm, and it is going to be very, very pleasant. Perhaps even a bit oppressive, a bit too warm for some. Now, if you head over to the latest GFS now, you can see it's because this high pressure system is building in from Europe, and it is pushing in a southerly wind over the next few days, pushing in very warm air originating from the Mediterranean. Now, it continues to stay very warm towards the end of the week, but look at the high pressure, it's a bit further westwards, and what this will do is perhaps encourage more northeasterlies. Now here, the northeasterly isn't particularly strong, it goes around the high quite widely, so it's not a particularly potent colder air mass, and that's because it just takes a long time to get to our shores. So definitely not as cold as it was showing a few days ago, but I will say this GFS is definitely a more moderated run today. Beyond that, still cooler air masses drifting around, but right towards the end of the run, towards the middle of May, we start to see those southerly winds returning, and it turns even warmer. If we do put on the temperatures once again, being a few weeks later, again, we're looking at mid-20s. I wouldn't be surprised to see it even higher than that in the subsequent days. So turning much, much warmer once again towards the middle of the month. And yeah, that would be very, very nice indeed. So a slightly cooler blip there into the first week or so of May, pretty much from this next weekend or the following week onwards, and then potentially turning warmer once again. Now, if you compare to the GM, which has been all over the warmer spell over the past week, very, very consistent and strong with its signalling. Again, southerly wind over the next few days. Eventually, we do see a bit of a northeasterly. It's a bit stronger than the GFS, and the air masses are quite a bit colder, going quite considerably below average here, down towards 0 degrees at 850 HP, around 4 to 6 degrees below average. But eventually, warm air does return, and right towards the end of the run, starting to show more of a shift back to a southerly or southeasterly wind once again. Now, finally, if we compare to the latest ECM, though, if it's just coming out, so I've not actually looked at it out to 216 hours yet. But again, very similar pattern, southeasterlies. Eventually those northeasterlies do arrive, and unfortunately for the 5th, 6th of May here, it is pretty chilly. See the -5 isotherm pushing in. See, there is still quite considerable uncertainty into the first full week of May. You've got the GFS, which is fairly moderate, doesn't really have a particularly sharp northerly wind. And then you've got the ECMWF, it does pull in a much, much colder air mass and would turn us well below average. So still got that uncertainty around that sort of medium to longer range. But of course, the next week, the next 5 days, definitely perhaps the next week, is looking very, very nice indeed. So we'll worry about all of that later on this week. But for the time being, let's enjoy the warm and dry conditions we do have. And you see that from the latest ensembles, just increasing temperatures over the next 4 or 5 days, peaking around Thursday, Friday time with those upper air temperatures, and then potentially into the weekend a bit more unstable there, potentially a few showers, storms, and then the temperature dropping off into the following week, around that 5th to 7th of May point, back towards average. Some go considerably below average. The GFS operation one, as we saw, was hovering around average, nothing too remarkable, and then actually goes much warmer again. But I will say, not got too much support with that. Generally speaking, we're back towards average, and then we are a little bit more unsettled as well. So we'll have to see with the exact details there. If you look at the latest ECMWF ensembles, just to compare, very similar pattern, very warm over the next 4 or 5 days, peaking later on this week. A little bit of precipitation potentially Thursday, Friday time, but then eventually into next weekend, into the following week, probably around Monday, it is probably the most likely time we are going to see those temperatures getting back towards average, and potentially even below average with more precipitation coming in. So let's wait and see if those longer term prospects continue to alter ever so slightly. Definitely feel like it's going to go cooler, but just how cool, still uncertain. But for the time being, we are looking at a very warm, dry spell. First proper warm spell of the late spring, early summer. We've had some warmer weather throughout spring so far, but nothing, where again it gets into the mid-20s. It's proper t-shirt and shorts weather. We've not quite had that so far. Again, not surprising. We are only in late April, so it's not really particularly likely beyond before this period, but it is our first proper warm spell of the year, so do make sure you enjoy it. Of course, stay protected out there with some sunscreen. It is still got a very strong sun. We have to remember the sun peaks in terms of its intensity with UV around late June, so we are actually only about 7 or 8 weeks away from the peak UV. So if you think about in terms of UV, we're actually at a similar point to kind of late August, which is a peak summer month. So it's still strong UV out there, so do stay protected. And yeah, make sure you do enjoy it, as of course, turning cool after that, and we'll have to wait and see what the longer term prospects are. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.